This is the Wiiviewer
And the LilWiiviewer.
and we're gonna review
Human Resource Machine.
for the Switch.
And various other consoles.
This came out for the Wii U a couple years ago, but I kind of skipped this one because I'm not a big fan of programming nowadays. I had my fill of it when I was a kid. I probably talked about this before, but I used to program in Visual Basic.
Wow.
I made programs for my bulletin board system back in the 90s. There's probably people going out there, oh my god, I remember those! People used to dial up into my computer and play around and, do fun things.
There's probably more people who have no idea what you're talking about.
By the way, bulletin board systems are still around. You just have to go through Telenet. And that's my Nerd Minute of the Day.
What the heck is Telenet?
Have you ever done any programming?
Not really.
What about that camp I sent you to?
That's not really programming.
What did it use, like Game Maker?
ClickFusion 2.5.
What'd you think of that?
ClickFusion 2.5 is I wouldn't say terrible program. It's just that the things that they start you out with are pretty bad. You have to get a lot of plugins before it's useful.
But you don't really do any programming per se.
There are, like, if and then statements, but that's like the most of it.
Human Resource Machine is a game, but it's actually a game that teaches you about coding and programming.
I wouldn't say teaches. The programming, I use in air quotes, is very limited, and that's kind of the point. It takes away a lot of tools that normal programmers, in this case, would have, and kind of forces you to work with it. In the beginning, you feel like, oh, look, I just do this and it's simple, but near like the middle of the game, they start asking you to do things and then don't give you the program to be able to do them. So you have to circumvent it with making the actual program that they didn't supply you. You learn gradually like how to do these things. There's a level where you have to multiply a number, but there's no multiplication command. So you have to
create your own calculator.
Actually, kind of.
Yeah, I know. I did that level.
That's neat. And then there's further ones which just get absolutely ridiculous.
Now, gameplay-wise and the way we're going to talk about this, we're not going to go too deep into it. We basically be spoiling the whole game. Because what you're seeing is the answers to the game. It doesn't randomly give you different things to do. It has a set things to do.
Well, to be fair, there's multiple solutions to a problem, albeit better ones.
Yeah, that's the only replayability is get your code down a little bit.
Or also solve the challenges.
Now, when I started this game up, I couldn't figure out how to even play the game. I was like, using my Pro Controller going, why won't this thing move or do anything? And then so I'm like, oh, I must not use the Pro Controller. So I grabbed 2 Joy-Cons. So this game uses a fake Wii pointer.
Which is impressive.
And it actually works.
I tried it out on the handheld mode. It works.
Oh, how was it on the handheld mode?
Well, you use touch controls on the handheld mode, which is much better.
See, I used only the TV screen. And I was halfway across the room and I was still working it all fine. I used the plus button to center it and it worked perfectly. I mean, you can't say it didn't.
I mean, sometimes it got out of hand, but like, if it did have the if all else fails, press plus, and then it just centers itself.
Yeah, so basically you start out year 1 and then you have to go through 40 years at this company.
41.
I mean, some of these years you're just getting coffee, which is weird. I'm like, man, you got a lazy year.
Well, actually, you're watching people get coffee. You're not even getting it yourself.
That's actually kind of depressing then.
It is.
And then there's something about robots taking over the city?
Something along those lines.
This is one of those games from the people who made like Little Inferno and World of Goo. So you know they're going to have this weird, crazy story that doesn't make any sense. But basically, you're just a drone who has to file paperwork. You're basically putting stuff from the inbox to the outbox, and that's it. But you have to program your way to do it.
In varying degrees of insanity.
There's not a lot of replay in this.
Not really. If you want to make a better program or worse program, if you're strange like that.
Do you think this will introduce kids to programming, or do you think it's a bad way of introducing kids to programming?
I think it's a fine way. I don't think it's very good programming in general, because it's unrealistic that you're not going to be able to just multiply on the fly.
That's basically it. I mean, there are branching paths.
It's to way harder areas.
But you still have to go back on the main path.
Right, but they're just optional.
The funny thing is, there really isn't much to talk about this game. It's a programming game. You're sitting in an office, moving things from the inbox to the outbox, while using commands on the screen to move your character. You can speed up your character so you don't have to wait for him to slowly go through your entire program.
Incredibly helpful for the final stages.
And you can also go line by line, backwards and forwards.
Right, to debug it.
So how long did it take you to beat this game?
I'd say 3 or 4 hours. Well, it'd probably go upwards to 5.
So Human Resource Machine, LilWiiviewer, would you buy, rent, sale, or skip?
What's the price?
$10.
$10. Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd buy this. For $10, that's pretty worth it. I mean, it was fun and challenging.
This is tough. $10 for a 4-hour game.
It's 5 hours.
Well, yeah, if you get stumped. I would probably say buy. I think $10 is just about as far as I would go on the price-wise. I mean, if you ever see this thing on sale, absolutely get it. Yeah, I think it's worth a buy. It was fun if you enjoy programming. If you don't even bother.